Rutherford Issues with Bryan Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, who offers some energy-saving tips during the hot summer months. Minimize the use of stoves and ovens, which raise kitchen temperatures. Opt for grilling or slow cooker, maybe the microwave. More tips at mte.com/myenergyplan. We are on the road again. I'm not going to sing it, although John Mitchell thought I should. John Mitchell is on the road, the executive director of the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross. He has been keeping the roads pretty hot from Greenville, North Carolina, right, John?
That's correct. I'm sitting in the Red Cross chapter in Greenville, North Carolina, supporting the disaster relief efforts for Hurricane Debby, which is not only a hurricane, but the big emphasis is flooding and continued flash flooding. The optics of this, Brian, is so different. As somebody that was getting on a plane and watching the national news and coming down here, it's real easy to think, okay, well, this hurricane's already passed, or it's on, maybe moving up into, the northeast. Mm-hmm. But the reality of it is these people know in this area, Greenville all the way to, ironically, the Outer Banks is, out to the east. They deal with the water, the rivers filling up and having flooding. So all the emergency management people are really concerned for next Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, really?
And so just when, the optics are, you think it's over, it's an ongoing situation. It was unfortunate that 2 nights ago when the front had come through, there was tornado warning after tornado warning, and unfortunately in Wilson County, right next to where I was staying, there was a tornado that hit a school. Of course, nobody was there. It was at night, but there's some damage. The governor will be in Wilson County, North Carolina today. And unfortunately, a 60-year-old man lost his life when, the house collapsed on him, and that neighborhood was a real tight community. So, the response is uniquely challenging because we have, close to 1,000 Red Cross volunteers peppered from Florida to South Georgia to through South Carolina and North Carolina. So you say Category 1, and you don't think of that as being a big response, but this has turned out being one of our bigger responses in recent history.
Yeah, it's been the storm that just would not give up. And in fact, this morning, it was the lead on national news because there were tornado warnings in New York City and Washington, D.C., and ground stops at airports and things of that nature. And so Debby just refused to give up the ghost. I mean, we've been dealing with this all week long. I've got some family that live down in the Waycross, Georgia area, and, they had 5 inches of rain that first day, so I know they're over double digits there. So it just kind of hung out right there along the southeastern coast.
It did. And from the get-go, the Red Cross will stay really close with the emergency management and the weather reports. And so over a week and a half ago, we were talking about flooding. We knew the wind and potential tornadoes, hurricane surge, all that was always an issue. But we've known for a long time it's flooding. And as I said, it's still an ongoing process that we're just trying to be there when, we've had shelters open last night. There's talk of some shelters opening in the next few days in this territory. And that's what Red Crossers do. They're just there to help people in the greatest time of need. And, remember, 90% of what we do is through volunteers. So if you want to break it down, even though they come from different states, it's really neighbors helping neighbors.
John Mitchell is with us today. He is the executive director of the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross, which is housed right here in Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. But on the road in Greenville, North Carolina, each storm brings its own particular threat. And with Debby, it was always going to be the flooding. Sometimes if it's, a Cat 3 or higher storm, you're dealing with surge and wind and things of that nature. And you really just never know. It depends on where it goes, how it comes into the coast, if it's at a certain angle, what kind of flood stage you have in terms of coastal flooding and things of that nature from surge. So, it really takes a lot in the forecasting part, which my question is, the Red Cross must have very good contacts and probably people that are smarter than the two of us combined that kind of know this is where we're going to need to go because this is where it's forecast to go. And that's why you're in Greenville, North Carolina, I guess is the point.
Yeah, that's correct, because I actually initially took off and was told that I would probably be in Georgia, the lower part of Georgia, Valdosta. I couldn't think of it at the moment. But by the time I went to the airport to come, usually these deployments, as we call them, would be 2 weeks. By the time I got to the airport, I got a message that I'd be going to Greenville, North Carolina, which was all good. So it shifts. And I think a lot of people would really feel good to know that those communications we have with emergency management and government officials, there's a lot of talk about making sure we're looking at those most vulnerable areas because we want to serve anybody in need, but we also know sometimes those needs are amplified in areas with the greatest need, and we're reacting to that.
So on a personal level, I mean, you've obviously got responsibilities here with the Heart of Tennessee chapter, and all of a sudden you get this call up and deployment. So do you have a go bag ready? I mean, how much warning do you have to prepare? And I'm sure you have to kind of clear your slate of work that you had planned to do to be gone for a couple of weeks. So scheduling, I guess, can be interesting.
It can. They asked us to put what dates were available for deployment. And initially, I didn't put this date down, but I decided to. I've got a vacation coming up, sometime. So I kind of looked at it and I said, well, this would give me an opportunity to, maybe serve and then come back and do some of my other responsibilities, full focus before I went on a personal vacation. And so, I choose that. And this is a good thing for, if somebody comes across with a Red Cross as a volunteer and they say they want to help, you're not 100% obligated like you have to go. I mean, you play a role in that decision. And so I was able to do that. So there's a bit of a challenge for me with ongoing stuff. But, Brian, God works in mysterious ways. One of my goals this year is to delegate more and let my board do more things. And so when I kind of step out, it kind of forces that issue to say, okay, we've got a meeting and, they're going to cover it. And we've got a great board of about 16 community leaders that continue to do that. So the one thing I will mention while I've got you on the air is next Tuesday and Wednesday at our chapter office, 501 Memorial Boulevard, we're having an open session. I believe it's 11:30 to 12:30, or it's definitely at noon. You feel free to come in anytime. If you've ever thought, well, what's it like to, volunteer for the Red Cross, or maybe I may do something local, or maybe I'd like to go on one of these disaster deployments. It's an information session that Jonathan Taylor, our disaster program manager, will sit down and talk to you. Again, no strings attached. When you come in, you don't get put in a computer system unless you're, wanting to do that. So I'd encourage some people to come out next Tuesday and Wednesday at the lunchtime frame to our chapter office just to find out a little bit about more what we do. And that relates back to what you asked me. We have people doing things on a daily basis. So the more volunteers we have that are engaged and empowered, the less of a strain it is for me to leave the community.
Well, I guess it takes a huge database of every person that works within the American Red Cross nationwide and the volunteers just to know how to put together a schedule and where to send folks when you have just a few days ahead of time and trying to figure out where some type of big storm is going to go. I mean, that's a pretty massive job in itself.
It is, and I'm really impressed. I got on the plane and I was like, okay, I don't really have a car. I don't have a place to stay tonight, but right about the time I was getting there, I get an email saying, you will be driving with this person to this office, and sure enough, they'll put me in a room. Sometimes you may stay at a shelter, but sometimes you'll stay in a hotel room, doing that. But that you're exactly right. There's people behind the scene. That's all they do. There's a staffing department that does nothing more than welcome you when you come to that territory, have a greeting orientation, for you to get started. There's people working on the transportation. There's people working on the lodging. It's a pretty well machine, and the Red Cross, we're like everybody else. We have our quirks, and sometimes, it takes a little bit of time for things to work itself out, but it's pretty impressive when we're being so flexible on where we're going and things work out in a pretty timely manner.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how all of that works together. And this is, how many deployments have you been on since you've been the executive director?
Yeah, I've been on 3, within 3, going on 3 years. So really about this time frame each year, pre-fall, I've been on a deployment twice to Florida and this time to North Carolina. The other deployment I was on was local with the Tennessee tornadoes out of Reedville. So there's really 4 deployments to a major, what we call a disaster response operation, and which we level in categories. That's usually a category 4 and up. So it's a different pace, but it's very rewarding to kind of be out there and be a positive multiplier when people are just needing, maybe it's snacks, maybe it's lodging, and you can help guide them to their need.
Yeah, and what my thought was on that, you've been, we'll say, 4 different disasters, and they're all different. The needs are all different, and there are just a lot of right now in the moment decisions that have to be made, and it's pretty amazing when you look at the scope of it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this chapter is called the Eastern North Carolina chapter, and it has a lot of inlet waters that come in from the Atlantic. And so, these people deal with similar situations on a regular basis, but listening to, we communicated early in the morning and early at night, check-in meetings with our team, and the information is flowing. But it's been eye-opening to me to know the history of this area and flooding. And so even interstates can get, overflowed at the wrong time. So that's what makes it different. Every community has a different layout, and it's kind of fun to get in there and work with people that do this every day in that community and learn the uniqueness. And it really creates a lot of opportunities. Our big thing is to be there in the greatest time of need, but to also build relationships. So we're doing that every day as well.
John, best of luck, and we'll see you back here in the heart of Tennessee soon.
Thanks, Brian. So good to hear your voice, and I appreciate you taking time to dial in to North Carolina today.
Absolutely. That's John Mitchell joining us today on Rutherford Issues from News Radio WGNS.